Hey everybody, it's me, it's Undead Viking, coming to you with another video review. My voice sounds a little weird because I have a really bad stuffed nose. It is cold and flu season pretty much around the world, it seems like right now. Everybody want to hear about the flu epidemic. Thankfully, I already beat up the flu once, so hopefully I don't get that again, but I do have a fairly annoying cold right now, so I apologize for the nasally tone of my voice, but let's just both get through this and we'll be fine. It is currently about 5 below right now outside in Moorhead, Minnesota. It's really sunny outside though. You can kind of see the sun coming in. But it is frigidly cold outside. And so what better way to spend the day than to do a video review. So today I am doing a Kickstarter review preview type thing. I did a lot of Kickstarter preview reviews in the last year, 12 months or so, and I enjoy doing them a great deal. I kind of had to get away from them for a little bit because there were so many like Kickstarter reviews and previews. Obviously, they need to be produced and taken care of in a very short period of time. And in some cases, I kind of butted up against deadlines and stuff like that. And I because of the fact that I get varied spurts of availability to do these things, I felt like I wasn't being fair to the publishers that asked me to do those reviews by accepting those, and so I haven't done a lot of them lately. The bottom line is that I've had to be kind of choosy, and so when I'm going to do this review, which, as you know, is for Hegemonic, this is a game that I picked to do it because I was really excited about this game. I had talked to the designer a few times, prior to the game being in a Kickstarter program and actually having a publisher backing it. And we had discussed the game and talked over the rules a little bit. And he had offered to send me a prototype copy, but at that point he didn't have somebody that was interested in publishing the game. And I said, let's wait. And he said he had a few people who were interested. And I said, let's wait until you get somebody behind you, because I had a pretty big backlog of reviews at that point. And he said, cool. And then lo and behold, one of the people in the board game publishing world that I consider a friend and I've met personally and played games with, James Matthew of Minion Games, turned up and wanted to back the game and kickstart it. And when he contacted me and the designer Oliver contacted me, I was like, sure, anything, because and I apologize if you think I'm dropping names and think I'm cool or anything like that. I just Joel Eady, Ecomouse Reviews, Drive-Thru Reviews, and I were fortunate enough to play some prototype games with James Matthew at Gen Con, and he was just a super cool, super nice guy, real down to earth. And so when he asked me if I could do this for him, I was like, no problem, man. And plus, I have a copy of Hegemonic that I can play, and so I was really excited about it. So as always, when I do a Kickstarter, I'm doing a rules overview and giving you some personal thoughts about the game as far as what I think of it. But this is more to show you what the game is, so you can decide. And I always say this for any of my reviews. This is something I'm trying to give you an overview so you can decide whether or not it's something you want to add to your collection. And what I'm doing here is that I'm trying to give you an overview so you can decide whether or not you want to back it. And it is a very good possibility that you are going to watch this video after the Kickstarter program is over. I think there's only about a week and a half, 12 days or something left of the Kickstarter program at this point. And if that's the case, I do apologize that you're watching this video at that time. But as you well know, all you have to do is wait a certain period of time, and the game itself will be published, and then you'll be able to pick it up, and then you can refer back to this video if you wish at that point. So, one other thing before I show you how to play the game. Obviously, this is a prototype version of the game. This isn't going to be the end result. I will admit that the components that they gave me for the prototype are very high-end. I have had some Kickstarter preview copies that the components themselves weren't all that, well, let's say, I'm not going to say they were poor, but I'm not going to say that they weren't, like, finished publication ready, I guess, in my opinion. But I mean, the plastic pieces that come with this game, and and I'll show these more. But I mean, these are actually like really cool laser cut plastic pieces, and I think, and don't quote me on this, I think that these will be pretty close to how the game looks when it does get published. But I would engender you to I don't even know if that's the right word, but I would suggest that, without taking my word for it completely, just head on over to the Kickstarter page and then check out, and I'm sure they have updated component lists and things like that that you can take a look at. So so what I'm saying is the game looks really nice, and I can't help but think that it's only going to get better when it gets published. But just keep in mind that the components that I'm showing you with this video review may not look like the components when the actual game gets published. But anyway, enough yakety yak. Let me show you exactly how to play Hegemonic. And well, not exactly. I mean, when I say that, I'm going to give you an overview of the rules. I mean, everybody jumps on my back and says, "You got Rule 17.2 wrong," and it's very likely. I played this game about 4 or 5 times now, so I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of the rules. But I am a human being, so bear in mind that if I do make a rules mistake, it wasn't on purpose by any means. Anyway, show you how to play the game, then tell you what I think. All right, here we go. To show you the rules and the gameplay of Hegemonic, I'm going to show you a 4-player game setup. The game does satisfy between 2 to 6 people. Obviously, with more people, the game lasts longer. They say 45 minutes per player, and I think that's pretty dead on, actually. The first time you play it, there are some parts of the rules. The rules themselves are very simple. The parts of the rules that are difficult are when you actually have to resolve conflicts, and you're determining how many points each person has, both the attacker and the defender, and that gets a little difficult. So that the first time you play the game, you expect to maybe probably like a 3 or 4 person game. You're looking around 3 to 4 hours for your first time you play the game. But then this game is one of those epically long games, so make sure you have some time set aside to play. The game has each of these little boards like this. These are the like galactic boards, and this is important to note because each one of these, when it comes to scoring, whoever has dominance or who has the most bases on these scores the most points for each one of these boards. And that's for each of the boards that are out there, including the one in the middle, which is like the Galactic Core board. And that's actually, since it's like in the middle and it's probably going to be contested the most, it's worth more points than the ones on the outside. And I'm going to zoom in real quick, and I know I don't like really zooming in too much, but I'm going to zoom in on the middle one just so you can see this. It also functions as the turn order. So as the game progresses, you move this, you start in one, obviously in collection, and then exploration, and the actions, and arbitration. And so the game progresses, and as the game progresses, you do move that token around the center there. You can't ever place any of the sectors that are in there. And when I say sectors, I do need to show you how that works. As the game progresses, you will have these sectors that show different like bases that can be placed in that little region of space. Like this is a martial, like war, if you will, and this is an industrial complex. And the circles, like this one, are political, so embassies, if you will. And I'll explain these in more detail in a little bit. But as you place these, you will just put them down in the locations, and the players themselves are the ones that actually determine which particular sector goes on each spot, and you'll do that during the exploration phase of the game. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself, so I'll explain the different phases of the game as we get to them. I'm going to cut away from this actually really briefly because I want to show you what a player board looks like and kind of explain to you how those work. So let's show you a player board right now. Okay, this is the player board for the red faction. The name is House Bushido, and if you use the advanced rules, there's actually different abilities that each of the houses have and are able to use in the game. They're a lot like other games with cards. They just allow you to kind of break the rules in some way, and they're fairly thematic for each house.
I'm not going to go into too much detail about those. I just want to make sure that you had those available to you. So there is more to the different houses and the different clans, if you will, that instead of just I'm red, I'm blue, I'm purple, and so on and so forth. This particular board, and I'm sure this will be very familiar with those of you who have played, say, Through the Ages or Eclipse. As you build, and this is industrial complexes, this is political embassies, and this is martial outposts, as you build them, you take them off the board, like so. And as you build them, you reveal different things about each level. So, if a player had built, say, let's just take 2 off of each. The next time somebody wants to build something of any of these, the first thing you have to look at to see how much it costs, you look under here's the complex cost, and embassy cost, and outpost cost. It would cost you 2 money to build one of these. It would cost you 4 money to build one of these. It would cost you 3 money to build one of those. Now up on top, you can see that when it comes time to, this is your cap gain, which is your income. Only when you've revealed one of the outpost or complex or embassy below this, then you gain whatever is empty. You gain that much to your income. So, like in this case, you would gain 3 for industrial, 4 for political, and 4 for martial. So you'd have an income of 11 when you did income on that turn, if that's what you had built. And finally, you'll notice that there's these numbers. Retention limit of 10, 10, 10. Now let's take 2 of these here. And so this person has built, 2 industrial, they've built 4 embassies, and they've built 2 outposts. Well, at the end of the turn, so people can't stockpile money, you only can retain a certain amount of the money that you have left to kind of encouraging people to spend it and not hold on to it. And you'll notice that you take the lowest number. So the lowest number here is 8 for in tier 2 embassy. So if the person had 11 money, they'd have to give 3 back to the bank once that turn was done if they hadn't spent it. You'll notice also that there are different tiers here. There's tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, and that's for each of these locations. That determines the level of technology you're able to use for any particular technology or alien technology that you want to use for that particular game and what you're going to have as far as the cards you get. These are the cards that have the alien technology on them, like mass translation relay. And you can see up here it says a tier 1 industrial tech. It costs 1 to place. And then it just has an ability. The distance you may place a pair of gates is increased by 1 sector. And I'll explain gates here in a little bit. So if you wanted to play this, you would have had to have built one of these buildings that's under tier 1. And so if you do want to build this, you place it underneath one of these slots you can see up on the top of the player board. And then you just place that there, meaning that you've built that. And you can change these as the game goes on. Also, if you didn't have a tier 2 open, but you really wanted to build a tier 2 industrial tech, you can do it as long as you have a lower technology built prior to that. So this one, as I said, is a tier 1. Let me just drag down a tier 2 industrial here. There we go. So this one is a tier 2 industrial tech. Because I had the tier 1, I can, as long as I can pay the money, I can use this card and I can place it because I have that tier 1 industrial already made. You can keep the tier 1 industrial if you want, or you can replace it with the new technology. That's up to you. Other thing about the player boards, just really quickly, if you're using the expanded ability, the house ability goes down here. These are the fleets, the 3 little spaceships. The fleets gain in power the more martial locations, these outposts that you built. You can see here it's like fleet power of 1, fleet power of 2, and fleet power of 3. So the more of these you built, the more powerful your spaceships get. Over here are agents. Agents are just what you think, spies, agents, things like that. They're obviously political. You use those during embassies. Agents cost less the higher up, more of these you make. So up when you have tier 3 open, agent cost is 0. And also, I mentioned the gates before. Tier 1, your gate range is 2. Tier 2, your gate range is 3. And Tier 3 is gate range of 4. And these are the gates. Gates are just what you'd think of. They're space gates. They allow more access to more of the board when you place those gates down. The one really interesting thing, even if you're the one who builds the gate, they're able to be accessed by anybody. They're just considered to be, free to use, if you will. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's some sort of like trade agreement or something that means that anybody can use them. But they're very useful to be able to get to certain spots on the board that normally you wouldn't think you could get to, and also kind of prevents people from turtling, because you're able to place a gate and then you're able to reach them, even if they're trying to, maintain their distance from you. But anyway, that's the player board. That's how the player board works. Obviously, if somebody destroys your embassy, you would place those back on as you place them. It should be noted that, like in this case, let's say you had a tier 2 technology for political, but you had to put back bases or embassies because they got destroyed or taken over. You don't lose that technology just because you've gone below it. It's like if you ever got rid of it, you couldn't build another one. But it's just one of those things where, it doesn't automatically go away. You get to retain that technology that you paid for and placed. So. All right, that's enough about the player board. I'm not going to really refer to it back again, but I just want to make sure that you were able to see that and see how that worked. And I like it. I think it's pretty colorful and it's pretty interesting. And it's one of those things that at a glance you can really see how well you're doing and figure out what your plan will be for the next turn. All right, so now I'm going to go through how you set up the game, and then I'm going to show you the different actions that you'll do on your turn. All right. Okay, before the game starts, you first have to randomly determine who's going to be the first player of the game. They get this token, which is the Arbiter token, which is pretty cool. And you just hand that to the person. Let's just say Red's first person. Red's down there. So they're going to be the first player to go. One of the first things that you do is you need to place your home base. And each, in a 4-player game, the boards that you're allowed to put them on, Red can put here, blue can go here, green goes there, and purple goes there. So, Red decides he wants to place his home base there. I'm just going to show you this real quick. You can see that is the basic one. You have one industrial complex there, one embassy there, and you have an outpost here. Now, you'll notice that there's 2 rings. As far as that means that you can build up to 2 outposts on that spot. If there's a 3rd ring, you can build 3 outposts. And if you build multiple outposts, you simply, that's how you build one, and then you just stack them up like that, showing that you've built more. But anyway, so as the first player, he goes ahead and places that there, and then to start with, you get to place one of each on those locations, meaning that you have one of each base to start with. So blue goes, and let's just say blue goes there, and we'll start them off like so. Green would go next. Green's gonna. I'm not really doing any kind of rhyme or reason with this. I'm just showing this so you can see how it gets set up. And like so. And then finally purple. And we'll go. Oh, you can't see that because my Viking is in the way. Let's go purple there. So. And like so. Ta-da. So now you have, each person has their base set up. Now, there are these, this big stack, and this isn't all of them. There's actually, if I put them all into one stack, they tip over. So I just have 2 big stacks of these different sectors. Each person gets 2. You just deal out 2 sectors to each person, and then starting with the first player, they look at the 2 that they get, and they decide which one they want to place. And obviously, you can place them anywhere, but if you're trying to make sure that you gain power or have something near that you want, red had those 2 and plus one. Now the one that you don't pick, like this one was the one you didn't pick, you place over in the pool of sectors that are available to be taken. And so let's just draw a couple more for blue, and blue gets these 2, and blue, and he'll actually go ahead and he'll place one right there in the towards the middle, and then he places the other one there. Green will place that one there, and that one's still available. And finally, purple will place a purple one there, and place that one over there, meaning it is open and available to be taken. Now that each person has placed a sector down and also placed their home sector down, everybody gets their income. Everybody has the exact same income to start with. Because you've had one of each base, so each person gets 9 coins. These are just plastic poker chips over here. The whites are 1, and the blacks are 5. So each person gets 9, and they take their income, and then you're able to start. You're able to begin the first turn of the game. Now, I should be noted that this is a game of open negotiation, and the money, and only the money, mind you, is free to be exchanged back and forth between players for any reason whatsoever. It could be, please help me with this attack. Could be, please don't go that location. I want that. Please help me out over here. That sort of thing. And while you're able to offer money and people are able to take money for whatever, none of those contracts are ever binding. So there is a negotiation aspect to the game that is always open and available for the players to engage in at any time. And there is no set moment when you can actually exchange the money. You can exchange it on the fly as the game goes on. Alright, so now we've got the game set up. Let's go ahead and begin and show you a turn of the game, and I'll show you some of the aspects of the turn, and then maybe we'll go into some of the conflicts, because that's kind of it's the core thing about the game. Having conflicts with other players, and it's probably the one difficult part of the rules. As each turn of the game begins, you start off with a collection phase. Now, you wouldn't do this during after setup, since we've already done the setup and we've given each person their starting money. Your collection would be equal to your normal income, but everybody has that already, so we don't do that particular spot. But in future turns, you will, however, collect your money depending on which bases you built and what income you've revealed on your player board. And you take that money into your hand so you can use it to purchase things and play cards and so on and so forth. After collection, you move on to exploration. During exploration, each person, and I think I forgot to mention this, but each person does get 5 of these cards. These are the different technologies that I referenced earlier, and also they have these numbers on the bottom, which are used during combats. Each person then draws another card, and then has to discard a card, or take one of the cards that they have and pay the cost and use it and place it as one of their technologies. Remember, I mentioned the advanced technologies, like here you can barely see that, I apologize, but I mentioned that during the player board. You can then place one of the technologies at this point if you so desire. The bottom line is that you can't have ever more than 5 cards in your hand, so you need to discard down to 5. After you've done that, starting with the first player, you draw one of these sectors. You turn it over and you look at it, and you decide whether or not it's something you want to use. You either then place it at any open sector on the game, or you put it over here and in the pool of available sectors, and you take one and you place that. So let's see. They will discard that one, take this, and they will discard that, take that, and I'll discard that one and take that one. And I'm not really doing any real rhyme or reason there. I just wanted to just grab those and place those down. So now you've done your exploration, and you'll move on to your different actions. And there are 3 action rounds in the game. 3, 4, 5. And starting with the first action, each player has this deck of cards that has the different actions on them. Assault, martialize, industrialize, politicize, subvert, and discover. Each person serially takes one of these cards, and then they turn it over at the exact same time. And depending on which one you picked, you go in the order of the actions. So you'll notice, and I apologize for the glare, these are sleeved, but this is a prototype and the cards had to be sleeved. So obviously 1 goes first, the 2s all go at the same time, but according to turn order as well. So like if the first player played a 2 and the third player played a 2, the first player gets their 2 first. And then 3s and then 4s. Now, I'm not going to show you real detailed actions as far as the different actions, but here, I'll just kind of show them to you. Notice that each one of these you get to take up to 2 actions. So, each one gets 2 actions, so it's your turn. If you picked Assault, Assault allows you to destroy somebody else's base if you have enough power to do so. And you'll notice that the industrial complexes allow you to destroy the embassies and agents and fleets and outposts. And the agents allow you to destroy industrial complexes and fleets. Basically, they can destroy whatever isn't them. And so you can take that action to do so. And obviously there is a cost to do it as well. And also each card has the basic, which is you can just say my basic action is going to be to gain 2 coins, or to swap out one of your cards, these type of cards, and draw a new one. So, and that's on the bottom of each one of these. You can do the basic actions as well. And so that's Assault. Martialize allows you to build. Remember, so now you have those other spaces on the board. Allows you to build outposts, and remember that depending on the number of triangles that are on that particular location, you can actually build more of those. And also allows you to, build fleets. And fleets can be placed anywhere where there's an outpost of that you control, and also can be placed immediately. So if you could do this too, you could build an outpost and then immediately place a fleet there as well. And this allows you to take over, using a fleet, it allows you to take over somebody else's outpost. Meaning you aren't destroying it, you're actually replacing it with one of yours. Industrialize, as you can probably guess, allows you to build more of the industrial complexes, and also allows you to build gates. And so whenever you build the gates, you will place, say these 2 are A and A, like that. You place 1 in the industrial complex where you're building it, and then depending on how far your range is, and according to your player board, you then can place this on the other one on any other industrial complex that's within your range. So if you can reach it, then you're able to place a gate, and then perhaps then you have access to make an action or try to take over or get closer to somebody else by building those gates. And obviously this is a merger, so this allows you to take over the industrial complex, and then you can probably guess where we're going with politicize. It allows you to build more embassies, and also allows you to build agents. And infiltrate obviously will allow you then to go ahead and take over somebody's embassy. Now, subvert allows you, once again, kind of like, let me find it, kind of like Assault, where Assault was able to affect the others, whatever wasn't theirs. Subvert allows you to do the same thing, but you're not destroying it. You're taking it over instead. And finally, Discover allows you to capitalize, meaning you can earn more money. You take caps equal to 1 of the lowest cap gain amount on your player board. So you can't just be highly specialized in one of them and then gain a lot of money that way. You'd have to just take it the lowest. Survey. Add a sector tile to the pool, and then play a sector tile to the board, so basically it's an extra exploration. And research. Return inactive tech cards, discard any number of cards, and then redraw to the hand limit of 5. Now, when it says that return inactive tech cards, whenever you use a tech card for the ability here, you don't it doesn't just get discarded immediately. You actually then you place it as an inactive card next to your board, and then you're able to draw it back into your hand when you obviously you do the research action. So that's what each of those actions are, and it may seem really basic, but each turn you're going to be just trying to like you say you're trying to build more outposts, if you will, and you're placing those, and each person has a different strategy of what they want to do as far as placing these sectors down and then capitalizing on what they've placed so they can build it. Like this is a really nice sector because it's at like 3 industrial squares there. So if purple had enough money to build those, they could go ahead and they could get lots of industrial complexes on that board, and so then they're gaining power, and that's what this game is. You're kind of just it's not so much a game of like watching your fleets fly to different planets and taking over those planets and using them for the resources. It's more of watching your empire just slowly grow and expand in front of you, and taking over more and more of those areas. Now, there's one thing I wanted to mention really quickly. You'll notice that there are some different colors. Like you notice there's this green, and there's that purple, and those are all the political embassy locations, like so. And when you have a spot that is like a political spot that is a green one, this actually does clue in, because of the fact that it's green. This actually has a connection to the other spots that are green on the board, meaning that if you control several of these, you can use several of them for your attacks, and you can use several of them for your defense. And I think the idea is that these are different alien technologies or alien races that you're actually you're kind of absorbing into your empire, and they have that connection that allows you to use that to your ability as well. Now, I went over the actions that you can take, and we did a really brief overview. I want to go right into a conflict and just give you show you a sample conflict. I'm going to zoom in on a portion of the board to do that, just so you can kind of see, because there's tons and tons and tons of combats you're going to be having with other players as you play this game. You really can't turtle to do anything. But I'm going to show you how those conflicts occur, and then I'm going to show you how you do your scoring at the end of the round. Alright, in this scenario for this conflict, I am going to play out an attempt by blue. They are going to use their invade action on subvert, and they're going to be moving a fleet, and they're going to be trying to take over they're going to move their fleet into this industrial zone that Red has been using for mucho power, as far as with they have 3 industrial complexes in that location. And so what they're going to do is they're going to move their fleet like so, and then go through with the conflict. To determine the strength in this particular situation, this fleet, it depends on the martial technology, what tier they're at. Blue is, and they're in tier 2. So this has a strength of 2. However, that isn't just the base strength. That you can actually add to that as long as they have outposts that actually can reach them at range. Now you'll notice that blue has this particular location with the 3 martial outposts. And if you can see this, you'll notice that, and it's upside down here. Let me turn that over real quick here. So since there are 3 of these triangles on this location, it's considered to have a power of 3. And because it has 3 power, you notice that up here there is a range, and it is 0 through 2. And if there's one base on this particular, it have a range of 0, If it has 2 bases, it has a range of 1. If it has 3 bases, it has a range of 2. So that's 2 sectors away. So this is only 1 sector away. So this outpost can support that fleet and give it all 3 of its power to enable it. So now this is at a strength of 5. Now, this is another wrinkle in the game, however. You'll notice that up here, there is another outpost on this particular location. And that is within a range of 2 of this particular outpost here. So it can give its power to this, which then gives its power to that, raising the power of this fleet to 6. And that is what it is attacking at. Now, if we count up the defending strength, you get 1 power, because you'll notice that there's this little star on each side, this little asterisk, that each one of these is considered to have 1 power. So that'd be 1 for each, totaling 3. But they have a range as well. You'll notice they have a range of 1. And you notice that there are 2 industrial complexes over here at a range of 1. So they can actually support that as well. You can't support the fleet because this is an industrial complex. The fleets can't support. So even though Red has a fleet there, they are unable to help in this case. So these particular ones will lend their power to that location, giving this sector a defense of 5. Now, each person goes through their cards, and they have to play a card that actually will back up, and one of these cards, as I mentioned. And, kind of like if you've played the game Cosmic Encounter, there's a number on the bottom that you use for combats. So each person flips one over. Blue flips over this card, which has a martial power of 5, meaning that they'll add 5 to their total power, and their total power is 6, giving them a military strength of 11 for this combat. However, blue turns over this one, industrial power of 7, adding that to the 5, giving them a 12. So they successfully defend against that attack. The fleet that was involved in the combat is destroyed and returned to the blue player. And now Red can swear undying revenge against House Blue and promise swift retribution once the next turn rolls around. Now, that's a really, really simple one. And I just wanted to kind of show you how that works. Later on in the game, when you have, like as I mentioned before, the different embassies and the different colors, like this, if this particular embassy was ever attacked, that's in purple, any other hex where blue had built a embassy that is in a purple tile, or it's like the purple alien faction, each one of those is able to help defend that particular embassy, and they're able to add all that power together. And you notice that each one of these has like a power, like it's 3. This one's 3, and the one right behind it, you'll notice is only a power of 1. But they each. So if let me just put one on there. If this particular location had been attacked by a fleet from Red, and before they'd actually be able to add this power 3, but also add this power which is 1, because of the fact that they can back that up. Also of note, it should be mentioned that whenever there is a political fight, any other players that are playing the game, as long as they have an embassy on the same color, they can lend support for or against the other players, and they can give their power, and also at that point they can say, well, if you pay me a few coins right now, I'll be more than willing to help you, stop that horrible subversion that's going on within your hexes and things like that. So I did a really simple one for you, just so you can get an idea of how those particular actions occur. But it's diceless combat. I mean, there is the random factor of the cards being placed that have the different numbers on them. But it is... it can get very involved, especially when you start dealing with ranges and who can support what. And the first few times, I'll be completely honest, the first few times we played this game, we referred back to the rules several times just to make sure that we were doing it correctly, so we didn't screw anything up. But that's how you resolve a sample conflict. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you do scoring, and then I'll tell you exactly what I think of the game. Alright, at this point, In this, demonstration of the game, we've gone through the 3 action phases of the board, and this is well into the game. I mean, this wouldn't be after like a first turn, but now you go into the arbitration or stage 6 of the game. At this point, whoever has the most money left over that they didn't spend gets to take the arbiter token. If it is tied for whoever has the arbiter whoever has the most money. Whoever owns the arbiter token can breaks the tie and gives it to that person. However, if it is the person with the arbiter token that is tied, they cannot pick themselves. But if there were like a 3-person tie, he could pick between the other 2 people. After that is done, you discard all of your money or your caps down to the retention level that you have, the lowest number on your player board. And then we will score each galaxy board, including the one in the middle. Each person will total up the total power of all of their bases on that particular, that they control on those particular galaxy boards. So, each one of the industrial complexes is worth 1. The outposts are worth 1 for each, triangle it's on. So, like, this one's worth 3, whereas this one's worth 1. And the embassies are worth whatever the board tells you. So, like, this embassy is worth 3. This embassy is worth 1. That embassy, if it was controlled, would be worth 2. And you total up that complete and total number. And whoever has the most power on each galaxy board gains 6 points. The person that has the second most power on the galaxy board gains 3, I'm sorry. And anybody else that has power on that board that isn't either first or second gets 1 point. If you are the only person that has power on a board, you get a bonus of 2 points. And if you have a base in the center, you just get a bonus of 1 point just because you're in that highly contested center of the board, and that's kind of a cherry on top of the sundae to get people to go into the middle and start fighting over it. If you tie for like first place, you split the points up, meaning each person gets 3, and and that means that and with second place, if there's a tie for the second place for the most power, each person would just get 1 point in that case. You round down. You don't get 2. You get 1 each. Then if it's the last turn of the game, and you reach the last turn of the game when you either run out of these, or there is a sector in each one of the locations located on the board. You gain a bonus of 2 points for every advanced technology you have made during the game. And so, just like any other game, it's a victory point game. It isn't about player elimination. In fact, you can eliminate players because you can never attack somebody's home base ever. You can't move your fleets through there. You can't try to take them over. You can't try to destroy them. Anything. So you total up whoever got the most points during the course of the game is crowned the champion of the universe, if you will, and that is how you play a game of Hegemonic. So, but let me tell you exactly what I think about this. Very, very well. I'll tell you, it's very fun and it's very intriguing too. It wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. So let me go into that more though.
One of the neat things about getting this prototype copy is the money that was sent to me was the little poker chips, whatever. Everybody's seen these plastic poker chips, but I don't know if it was me. I used to play a ton of poker. My friends and I had a little poker group, and we get together and play. And of course, we upgraded to the clay chips. We got away from the plastic chips, but I remember as a kid. Always, because these things have the ridges and they lock together. I remember as a kid always stacking as many of these as possible, and then trying to push them together and hold them, and then inevitably you push too hard and they'd all shatter and fall over. So I don't know. I found myself playing with those the same way whenever I played this version of the game. So one of those. Why am I even telling you that? I have no idea. Anyway, Hegemonic. Okay, so lots of games out there that do the 4X space theme. I mean, obviously, there games about the exploration of space and spaceships and battles in space and stuff like that. I mean, it's just like we grew up watching Star Trek, or at least I did. I grew up watching Star Trek and Star Wars and all those other games like Battlestar Galactica and shows like Battlestar Galactica and things like that. And it, you know, it's you know, the word space opera, you know, is used to describe those as a lot. And there's a lot of games that obviously try to take that feel, that theme, and then present it to you in a board game form. I mean, you know, Twilight, and I just recently did a review for Exodus, Proxima Centauri, a game that I really enjoyed. And also, you know, obviously Eclipse, right there, and well, actually Exodus is right there. So, but you know, and I got Space Empires 4X down over here. I don't own Twilight Imperium anymore, but you get my drift. That, you know, there's lots of games out there that try to portray that theme and give it to you in a fun and exciting board game. Now, I'll say this about this board game. Yes, it is about space, but this is a completely different animal as far as how the game is presented to you. Now, I'm telling you that because I don't want people to go into this game thinking that, you know, giant space laser battles and you know, duking it out over the moons of Saturn and things like that, you know. This is a game more about logistics, and it's very mathy, and it's very trying to think 2 turns ahead of your opponents type of thing. It has a lot of things that you'll find in other Space Force games, but it's a completely different game in many regards. You know, I guess, and you know, by me explaining this to you, a lot of you out there are probably watching this and saying, "Well, that doesn't sound all that exciting." You know, come on, you know, tell me what's great about the game. And you know what's great about the game is that this is a thinking man's or woman's Space 4X game. And what I mean by that is that yes, games like Eclipse are long and drawn out, but you know, it's more of in games like Twilight Imperium or Proxima Alpha Centauri, but like I said, those and Eclipse games I really enjoy. Those games are more about stepping into the theme and feeling like you're controlling a planetary empire, and you know, building spaceships and you know, finding great new planets to explore and exploit, and really getting into and the whole, for lack of Masters of Orion 2, which is, you know, something that inevitably, like, a lot of games are compared to. And I think games like Eclipse and Twilight Imperium and Exodus do a very good job of making it feel like that. And the games like Space Empires 4X are great for simulation. But this game is more of, if you've played the game Through the Ages, it is a civilization game without a map, and I'm kind of bouncing around here, and I do apologize for that. But I love Through the Ages because of the fact that I'll spend a good 5, 6, 7 minutes on each one of my turns trying to figure out exactly what I can do on this turn to strengthen and bolster my my personal standing in the game. But I also have to think about, well, what's the next person going to do? And then what is going to be available for me to do when my turn comes around again? And how is that going to tie in with what I'm doing now? And what can I figure out as far as what's going to be available as far as, you know, moving forward? You know, not only my next turn, but the turn after that. And I like that. I mean, it isn't something I can play all the time, but I mean, Hegemonic gives me that feeling because of the fact that you know, you have a set border as far as how big is the game is going to get. But as you start taking these tiles for the different locations of the spots on the board, and like choosing one to place and then putting it in a place that is going to enable you to enact your actions and then take over larger areas of the world, and because that's what this game is. It's all about area control, and that's how you win the game. You don't win the game by killing your opponents. I mean, obviously you have to. I mean, it's part of the game as far as like controlling more area, because you're controlling areas that they would have had at some point. But it's about trying to maintain a dominance over everybody else, and there's lots of area majority type games, but this one presents it in a way that it's constantly keeping me on my toes, because I have to figure out like how powerful somebody else is, in those three different industrial or martial or political, and I have to be on my toes as far as how powerful they are as compared to me, and there's that balance between me, making sure that I am impregnable from attack, but also making myself powerful enough to go out and take more spots. And I mean, there's so much about the game that like I said, it's a thinking man's game. This isn't a game that you can just dive in and just throw the pieces down and come out winning. You have to have one, a plan, and two, the ability to modify that plan as needed, because the board is going to change and it's going to alter before it gets back to your turn again. There's so many things about the game that I really like. I mean, I do like the fact that each person has the different action cards, that they pick one and they place it down, and then you take those actions. So you kind of have to try to think ahead and like figure out what the other person might do as far as their action. But that's obviously been done in other games of this type before, and I think that's a good takeaway. I really enjoy the fact that the technology cards that you use have the dual purpose. They have the power numbers on the bottom, and then they have the they have the different like advanced technologies that you can use, and then I like the fact too that you get to a point where a certain advanced technology that you've been using just isn't as valuable to you as it was once before, and so you'll ditch it to go on and do something else, because of the fact that now you like self it's like you'll take if you have phase teleportation, but it just doesn't work for you anymore, and and all of a sudden you realize that self-replicating drones is something that's going to fit your needs better at this given time. You swap those out, and I love the fact that you kind of have to also once again be on your toes as far as what other people's abilities are, and they're changing as well. And I love the fact that you have to decide. It's like, well, this one has a 5 martial power on the bottom, so that's really good if I'm going to be using that in Conquest. But do I ever want this subliminal telepathy? Is that going to be useful? And so you're weighing the different powers of those cards against each other and trying to determine at that given time what is more important to you. I've had a few people ask me what I think the game feels like to me. I mean, if I had to compare it to another game, and I don't even try to compare it to another Space 4X game. It has some aspects to those. Obviously the moving out and expanding and taking control of more and more of your surrounding area as far as in the solar system, but it has so many other different feelings to it. The fact that basically money is like powerful, but the fact that you can constantly be trading it back and forth between players, I'll give you this if you do this, I'll give you that doing this, and that's like completely open throughout the entire game, is a very welcome addition to the game, because it means that everything is negotiable, and that at any given time you can be convincing people to hopefully do as you ask them to. And of course, since none of that is binding, there's that social contract in the game that really adds a lot to it. I love the fact that the fact that these cards obviously have the different powers and the different abilities, so it kind of feels a little bit like Cosmic Encounter in that semblance, because of the fact that because you have these cards in your hand and nobody knows how powerful those are, because if it was just, obviously, if it was just, I have power 8, you have power 7, I beat you, that would be really, that game wouldn't be fun at all, because it would just be like, just whoever's got the best numbers wins. Obviously, the different cards that you have, as far as dropping those and being able to, have, for lack of a better term, like a doomsday card. Like, it's like, no, I'm sorry, I have way more points than you. I like that aspect, and obviously because it allows some bluffing and counter bluffing and negotiation as well, because, I have a card that's going to let me beat you, you better not attack me. And then, is he bluffing? Is he telling the truth? That sort of thing. In a way, it kind of like makes me feel like, for lack of dominant species, because of the fact that you get points for each of the hexes that you have dominion over, but you have other people can be on the same spot as you, and so you're kind of always struggling against the other person if they're on that same hex as you, trying to be more powerful, and it's like in dominant species, you're trying to establish dominance on those different tiles, and it's kind of like the same feel here. And that's a good thing for me, because as you well know, if you watch my dominant species review, that's easily in my top 10 games, top 5 probably games of all time still. So Hegemonic has a lot going for it, and I think the one thing that people aren't going to appreciate about it is that people are going to go into it thinking of laser battles and spaceships and rockets and missiles and Star Wars and Star Trek and giant space opera, and that isn't what this game is. This game is a logistical monster game of negotiation and careful planning and very deep thought, 2-3 turns in advance type of situation, and in an incredibly rewarding game as well, as far as making your brain hurt and making it feel fuzzy, and as far as when you get done with the game, you kind of just feel exhausted, just because you're like, oh geez, now I don't have to worry about totaling up all how much range my opponent over here, can he get to this hex, and if he can get to that hex, how much power would he be able to enact with all the different political things that he has, and can he take over that from me? It's like, do I have a card that's good enough? What kind of technology cards are okay? I don't think he can. Now, do I have enough power to do this or that, the other thing? And so it's a brain burner to the highest degree, as far as I'm sure there are other games out there that are more complex and more thought-provoking, but for me this kind of is at the very tip top of how much I want my brain to be fuzzified as I play a game. And so it isn't a game that I apologize, a lot of times I do reviews that I really like and I'm really animated and I'm really excited about the games, and so people are like, wow, your exuberance for the game really comes through. But this isn't that type of game. I mean, it's excellent, it's a lot of fun. I'm really glad I have a prototype. I'm really glad that I'm able to play this whenever I want to, but it isn't that type of game, I guess. So take that for will. I hope that explanation makes sense to you. I think the game is excellent, but I worry about, because there's no dice, there's no swapping out new laser systems and stuff like that. Like that people like them, like Eclipse and Alpha Centauri or Proxima Centauri. Like changing the blueprints. Your fleets are just these little plastic pieces, and they're just an extra power. And if you can move them into a spot, they give you extra power when you're doing attacks. That's all they are. And so it's an entirely different animal from any of the other 4X games that I have. And for that reason alone, it's going to be part of my collection for a long, long time, because of the fact that after I've played so many games now, after being in this hobby for over 6-7 years now, I have the games start to replicate themselves, and you start playing the same old game with a slight twist, and this is a game that has a theme I love. Space 4X, but it has presented it to me in a way that I haven't played before, and I appreciate that about it a great deal. So there you go. Thank you for watching Hegemonic. Try to get on the Kickstarter. It's still going right now, so you can back the game and get a copy as soon as it is published. If you have any questions or concerns or ideas, by all means, as always, leave them below, and I will answer those to the best of my ability. Yeah, and as always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch these lengthy reviews that I do, and I appreciate your attention greatly. So, until next time, this is Undead Viking. Thank you again, and you have yourself an awesome day. Bye-bye.